I knew I needed an opening act because some of those groups would only play 1 or 2 sets, which is an hour and a half, and my shows usually ran from 8 to 12. There was a group in town called the Chevelles. They were just starting up. They were a bunch of kids from Sarah, and I'd heard about them. Jack Van ran them. It was his group. His kids were in it. And I called them up and said, would you like to open up for a Paul Revere show? Of course, they went nuts. It was a big deal. And they did open up for Paul Revere, the second show we had at the Armory. And of course, they become instant stars. I mean, the kids loved them. They were a local group that had a lot of talent, and they did very well. There were other groups before them, but they were new and upstarting, and so that's why I went with them. There was another group called the Chevelles. They were very good. Steve Westfall, great band, very good band. And I did use them down the road some, and they, like I say, they were a good band. But back in the early 60s, there weren't that many local bands that could handle that. So the Chevelles are the ones that sprung off and became the big local group in the early 60s.
The band, the Chevelles, started in about 1963, I believe, in the fall. All the guys in the band were from Sarah Catholic High School here in town. There was a band of people made out of people from the 9th grade class the year before and the sophomore class. And at the end of our freshman year, the freshman band and the sophomore band got together, and we put the band together and we picked the name the Chevelles.
The 6 of us got together. We started out by playing instrumentals, because I don't think any of us, I won't say Joe Smith and Stan Steiner didn't have good voices or any of the others, but I know I didn't have much of a good voice other than singing some background. But we got together and we started playing instrumentals, kind of surf sound and what.
Eventually we added a singer named Jim Taylor. So that band then became Jim, Stan Steiner, myself, Mike Van, Craig Van, Gary Phillips, and Rick Seals, the drummer. So we kind of moved along and did that for a year and a half or so, probably, and had a nice little following and did some important things with Ed that, we wouldn't have had an opportunity to do otherwise.
I believe our first dance job was at Sarah. It was that fall. I think maybe about our second one or so was down at the Knights of Columbus Hall in Salem. And my understanding is that's where Ed Doherty, you might say, came into our lives. And he was moonlighting, I believe, as a bartender there at the Knights. And we were playing upstairs, and he came up to see what was going on, and he met my father, who, although my dad was not officially our manager, he was sort of, since we were minors, he always went to all of our dances. And so I guess they talked, and that's how we got to meet Ed Doherty.
Without Ed starting his business, our business as a band wouldn't have been nearly as good, because along the way we played with several people, the Whalers, Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Anytime Paul Revere was in town, I think we played as his opening band. We also played as, since we were the local, we were always the opening band. My father used to say, if you go 50 miles out of town, you're a professional, but when you're in town, you aren't. So we would open for Dawn and the Good Times and Merrily Rush, and just, basically a lot of whoever came into town. Just a few months before the group broke up, we had a gig up in, I think it was Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, and Jim couldn't make that one. He told us right out as soon as we said, hey, we have this chance. He says, I can't be there. He was doing something that weekend. So we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. Well, for some time, 2 other Sarah graduates by the name of Bill O'Brien and Jerry Meyer had been hanging around our practice. And so I don't know who did the formal whatever, but we asked Bill if he could fill in that. And so we practiced for 2, 3 weeks, whatever it took, to get songs that he could do, and he was our singer up at Pacific Lutheran.
So I said, sure. So they took the first dance I ever sang at was at Pacific Lutheran University, which is outside of Tacoma. And I think we did Big Boy Pete by the Olympics. We did I Like It Like That by Chris Kenner. We did What'd I Say by Ray Charles. But yeah, that was the beginning.
When we came back from there, we talked it over, and it was kind of like, well, we don't want to lose Jim. That's not fair to Jim. But likewise, we don't want to give up Bill. He was, he added something. So at that point, what started out as 6 band members and 1 singer, and then 1 singer, now we had 2 singers. And as I said, for the last few months of the band, we actually would go out, and Jim would kind of do the ballad types, and Bill would do the hard rock, whatever songs we were doing like that.